So if you're thinking about buying a home soon, I've got some bad news for you, but there is light at the end of the tunnel. So make sure you watch all the way through this video to see what I'm talking about. Check out this information coming up. What's going on, my YouTube friends? This is Jerry Abbott, your #1 real estate resource here in beautiful Las Vegas. Hey guys, a couple of quick things before we dive into the video. If this is your first time to the channel and you want to learn the cold hard facts about the Las Vegas real estate market and real estate in general, then make sure you subscribe to the channel down below. Number 2, also make sure to give me a thumbs up like. That would really help the channel out. And number 3, if you are thinking about relocating to beautiful Las Vegas, whether it's next month or next year, I've got your back. I'm a local real estate agent here. I've lived here for nearly 20 years. I know every inch of this city. When the time is right for you, just call, text, or email me anytime, and I'll help you find that perfect dream home. Let's dive into the video. So I don't want to be the bearer of bad news, but the reality of the situation is that millions of people have become incredibly frustrated with just how expensive things have gotten in recent times. I want you guys to take a look at a few on-screen graphics here that are pretty shocking, starting with this first one. 49% of U.S. households can't afford a $250,000 home. Millions struggle to pay AC bills in heat waves. Federal aid reaches only a fraction. 53% of Americans say they don't have any emergency savings. And millions of Americans are skipping doses because they can't afford their prescription drugs. Even worse is that we're at 20-year high interest rates, which has done very little to cool the economy, but I think that's going to change in the coming months. I'm going to show you why that's going to happen in the upcoming segments. All right, so the first piece of bad news is just how outrageously high mortgage rates are now and how unaffordable housing is for millions of people. I want you guys to take a look at this short 1-minute video clip, and then I'm going to come back on the other side and comment on it.
Mortgage rates just surged past 7%, which is now a massive issue for the U.S. housing market. It's going to mean the housing crash is going to get worse in the second half of 2023 because home buyers, they can't afford it every month. 7.2% 30-year fixed mortgage rate means the average payment for a home buyer in America is now nearing $3,000 a month, which is over 40% of their gross income. Anyone buying in today's housing market pretty much is going to be house poor and struggling to make the payments. Now, fortunately, these higher mortgage rates, they've caused home buyer demand to go down. Existing home sales are at close to their lowest level in 15 years. Mortgage applications to buy a house are at close to their lowest levels in 15 years. So what you need to watch out for in the second half of 2023 is that these higher mortgage rates, they're going to suppress demand even further, just as there's a surge in new listings from distressed Airbnb investors and institutional landlords who can't rent out their properties. That's going to be a nasty combination for the housing market. Expect home prices to go down further at the end of 2023.
All right, so that's Nick from Reventure Consulting. He's got a really good take on the housing market, but there's 2 big takeaways from that video clip. The first one he's talking about is how people's mortgage payments are now nearing $3,000 a month with an average mortgage rate of about 7.3 to 7.5%. That's really actually not the aggregate. The aggregate right now is about 8% for the average borrower, which means people are paying well over $3,000 a month. And the other takeaway is the part where he talks about investors, Airbnb owners. They're going to start to now feel the squeeze because they're trying to get rates that they can no longer rent out these properties for, get the ROI that they want because these interest rates are so high. And what that means is there's going to be forced selling, which some of these investors are going to do. They're going to start selling off their properties. A lot of shadow inventory is going to come back on the market. And ultimately, that's going to push more inventory back on the market, and it's going to lower prices. All right, so just to piggyback off that last video segment, I want you guys to take a look at this article that just came out a few days ago from Yahoo Finance. You can see the headline here where it says housing market affordability is worse now than at the height of the housing bubble in 2006. Now, I want to show you guys this chart right here because this chart goes all the way back to 2006. You can see at the top, it says U.S. housing affordability is worse now than it was in 2008. So that 2006, 2008 time period is right here. This is right before we had the big market crash. And then affordability became a hell of a lot easier because, again, you can see it went all the way up because the market crashed. And we've been vacillating up here for many years until we got to the pandemic. And now take a look right here in 2023, all the way down at the bottom right here. This is a lower level than in 2007. So if this doesn't spell a potential housing market crash or a correction at the very least, I don't know what does. So the elephant in the room as to why there's such a lack of affordability in the housing market is because the Fed keeps raising interest rates. Now I want you guys to take a look at one particular comment. There's a lot of comments down below in this article, but this one really resonated right here that I highlighted in gray. I'll read it to you if you can't read it. It says, raising interest rates to cure inflation is akin to amputating your feet to cure athlete's foot. it will work, but the downside is worse than the problem. And again, that's a really interesting point because when you think about it, the Fed is trying desperately to get inflation lower. But by doing so, they're basically suffocating the entire market now, trying to make things so unaffordable that millions of people can't even afford to buy a home now. All right, so let's take a look at this article that just came out from Fortune.com. Take a look at the headline right there in the middle. How much money you need to make to afford a $600,000 home in September of 2023. Now, I know a lot of people can't afford a $600,000 home, but the way they break things down in this article is based off of that number, so you can adjust it however you want. So let's take a look at a couple of things here, starting with this chart right here. Now, this chart goes back 5 years. It goes back to April 2018, and you can see in this April 2018, all the way up to about the pandemic time, right into about April of 2020, the home price, the average home price was in the low 300s, and then the pandemic happened, and then all hell broke loose. Appreciation went through the roof to the point where we got right here to about $480,000 for the peak median home price. But now you can see what's going on. We're starting to see that down cycle here, 429, and now we're down to 416 currently as the average home price in America. Now here's the really shocking and unfortunate thing. Let's go a little bit deeper into this article here because this is really kind of mind-blowing here. You can see right there in that bold print right there, it says your purchase price $600,000, your down payment is only $36,000, so that's a 6% total down payment on the purchase price. You're on a 30-year fix, and then the loan interest rate is 7.08%. Now we're just going to use that number for this particular example here because that interest rate is a hell of a lot higher for most people. It's closer to 8. But your total monthly mortgage payment would be around $3,700, around $3,800 a month. But here's the shocking thing. Take a look right here in this gray highlight that I put here. This means your gross income would need to be at least $13,511 per month or $162,000 per year. All right, so let's just backtrack a little bit up here to the loan interest rate that they're using in this example at 7%. It's not 7%. The average aggregate rate right now is about 8%, which means this monthly mortgage payment is not $3,800 a month. It's probably closer to $4,000 a month, and that means your gross income down here needs to be higher than this $13,500 a month. This is where it's completely crazy, guys. Take a look right down there where it says the average income has to be $13,500 per month to afford a $600,000 home. The individual income in this country is about $55,000, right around that ballpark. That means someone can't even come close to qualifying for this kind of a home because even though home prices are coming down, the interest rates at these levels are making housing affordability absolutely crazy. Again, that's why I keep advocating, even though I don't think interest rates are coming down anytime soon, we need to wait and be patient for prices to come down to at least offset how high these interest rates are right now. All right, so let's dive into my neck of the woods here in the Las Vegas area. This chart that I want you guys to take a look at goes back 20 years showing what the average monthly house payment is. I want to show this to you because this shows you just how brutally unaffordable housing is right now. Take a look next to my picture right there. That's the current calendar year, 2023. The average house payment now is $2,633 per month here in Las Vegas. Now, it's actually a little bit higher because interest rates keep going up. But what I want you guys to do is I want you to take a look about 10 years ago right here in this part of the chart. So 10 years ago in 2013 in Las Vegas, your average payment was about $830 a month, and then we fast forward 10 years later to the current time, it's $2633. So let's just call that 3.5 times the amount. So you paid about 3.5 times less on your house payment back 10 years ago compared to now. So here's my question to you guys. Let's say 10 years ago you were making $50,000 a year. Do you think your salary has gone up 3.5 times to about $175,000 to justify how much the payment has gone up on housing payments? Not a chance in hell. That is why everything is completely out of whack. When we have had stagnant wages where people are making basically the same amount of money as they were 10 years ago, but home prices have gone up 3.5 to 4 times the amount, that's where there's going to be a potential bubble. That's why home prices have got nowhere to go, in my opinion, but down from this point forward. All right, so let's take a look at a few specific examples here in the Las Vegas area of homes that are for sale that have been reduced. Now, a lot of people realize that housing inventory has gone down tremendously over the last year, especially here in Vegas, but there are still a lot of price-reduced homes here, including new construction on standing inventory that the builders are not able to move at the original price points. If you take a look at the original price point here on this home, it says right there in bold it was $727,000. It's now $628,000, with $20,000 going towards closing closing costs. Now, I know this builder in this community very specifically, so several months ago, you would have had to pay $727,000 roughly for this home. They've now dropped the price $100,000 and they're giving you the $20,000 towards closing costs. Now, what does that tell you? It tells you that they were overpriced to begin with. They couldn't sell all of them, obviously, at that higher price point, and now prices are coming down. So again, patience is the name of the game, because I anticipate this happening as we get into the winter and into 2024, especially as interest rates stay high. All right, so now let's take a look at this second example. This is the same builder, same community. You can see right here in the bold print, if you can't read it, it says this home has been reduced from $607,000 to $554,000, with $16,300 going towards closing costs. Again, I know this builder in this community. Several months ago, you would have had to pay this $607,000 amount, and now they've got this down to $554,000. So you can smell some of the desperation coming here with the builders again, especially as we get to those winter months. They're doing $50,000, $100,000 plus price cuts because they can't move them at those original prices. Again, I anticipate these numbers to keep falling, especially as we get into the winter time when there's less home buying typically at that time of year. So now let's take a look at a resale example here in the Las Vegas area on the popular real estate website Zillow. Now you can see right next to my picture, this home is currently listed at $585,000, but they did a price cut right there. You can see in that red font, $10,000 price cut on August 25th. But more importantly, let's go down here. Right next to the arrow, May of 2022, on this chart right here, a little over a year ago, this home was valued at $650,000. Now, you can see right here that the estimated market value is $565,000. So this home is still probably about $20,000 overpriced, but this again is about $100,000 close to it in a price reduction in the course of a little over a year. So again, that's why I keep saying to you guys, even though people keep talking about how homes are selling quickly, inventory is low, there are still deals like this out here. There are still significant price drops happening, especially out here in the Las Vegas area. And again, I anticipate that happening through the end of this year and into 2024. So I know a lot of that still sounds like bad news, but I want you guys to take a look at this short 40-second video clip coming up talking about the real estate market overall and how we're finally starting to see signs of it slowing down.
Well, if you are in the market for a new house, we have some potentially good news for you. A new report shows housing prices in July hit an all-time high, but that might be about to change.
It's possible we are seeing a potential downturn coming in prices. Why? Mortgage rates. We saw it before earlier last year. When mortgage rates went much higher, we saw prices come down. Then when mortgage rates settled at the beginning of this year, prices went up again. So we're kind of on this roller coaster. But the good news is we might be on the downside, and that's going to help buyers out there because housing right now is just terribly unaffordable. The other good thing, one last thing to note, is that we're finally seeing a little bit more supply come onto the market, and that'll help as well for buyers.
So you can already see that the real estate down cycle is beginning. We still have sky-high interest rates, which means less buyers are going to be able to qualify at these very high interest rates. The unemployment rate has now started to tick back up. I also believe the stock market is going to start to drop as we get into the fall and winter time period. This is going to be slow moving at first, but when we start to see more cracks in the system, that's when we're going to finally start to see more meaningful price drops in the housing market. So before we end today's video, I just want to give a shout out to my favorite comment from last week's video, and that goes to Vade. Now you can see Vade's comments here on screen. He's talking about the 2008 real estate crash and how home prices didn't bottom out until the 2012 time period. He's telling people to just wait and save, and that's exactly what I've been advocating in a lot of my previous videos. I think since the peak prices of last year's housing market, it's going to take another year, possibly 2 years, to finally see the bottoming out of prices. So if you don't have to buy a home right now, that's why it's a wise option to sit on the sidelines and wait for prices to come down. So definitely let me know in the comment section what you think of the current housing market and if you think people should wait things out or not. And my favorite comment from this week's video, I'm going to give a direct shout out to in next week's video. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I also hope you appreciate my transparency. Like I've said before, I'm always going to keep it 100% real on this channel regarding the overall real estate market, with specific emphasis here in the Las Vegas area. So like I've been advocating in a lot of my previous videos, guys, don't do anything right now if you don't have to regarding buying a home. Sit tight, sit on the sidelines. I think the economy is going to hit rough water as we get to the fall and winter. I think we're going to finally start to see meaningful home price reductions when we get to the end of this year and into 2024. So be patient if you can right now. When the time is right, and if you do happen to be relocating to the Las Vegas area, I've got your back. I'm a local real estate agent here. I've lived here for nearly 20 years. I know every inch of this city. When the time is right for you, just call, text, or email me anytime, and I hope you find that perfect dream home. I'll see you guys in the next video.